Q104.3.
Brian Johnson at Q104.3. And that takes us back to the beginning with Back in Black, the beginning for Brian Johnson. And at the time that you received the phone call, you received a call at work. You had your own business at the time, vinyl roof specialist for automobiles, and you also did windshields, which you call wind screens in Britain. But they called you at your place of business, your own business, and asked you to come and audition for some artists that at first they wouldn't reveal the identity to you.
No, they wouldn't. There was a lady on the phone with a very strange accent. And I remember she was going, "You're Brian Johnson?" And I said, yes. Well, who are you? She went, "I cannot tell you this." I went, "What?" I said, "Well, what are you phoning about?" She said, "I cannot tell you this either." And I went, "Well, we're going nowhere quick here, lady." I said, "I'm a busy man, what do you want?" And she just said, "Well, you're a thinker." I said, "Well, kind of, yeah, I'm just, I said, "But I'm 32, I'm past the, sell-by date for rock and roll singers, I really did think that was it. And she said, "No, you must come down to London to sing. There's a band." And I said, "Well, who are they?" And she went, "This I cannot tell you." And I said, "But I'm not going down to London to..." I said, because I'd been bitten once, I was in a band called Geordie. We had about 3 top 10 hits.
Yeah, and you know what the rock and roll up and down world is like.
In my pocket. I mean,
there was a show, and we'll get back. We're going to divert from that story because we're going to get back to it. Just because you were talking about the hits that you did have. There was a big TV show, Top of the Pops.
Right.
In Britain. Very, very famous show. It would be like American Bandstand here, except maybe bigger. Yeah. Okay? And so he performs on this national big TV show, this huge TV show.
Right. Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's out on the street waiting for the bus.
Waiting for the bus?
Yeah, because he can't afford.
Really?
He was out of money,
There was a bigger show in the world for England, as far as England were concerned, but you got £90. Which covered your travel,
and he was afraid. He was afraid people were going to recognize him waiting for the bus and think, "What's this all about?" Because the rock and roll life does have its ups and downs.
Well, you have to be humble, I guess, at the start, which makes me laugh now when I see these news shows like American Idol, X Factor. I think it's probably one of the cruelest things I've ever seen in my life. Getting somebody that has a modicum of talent. They're not bad. They're good singers. Right. But then they surround them with these wonderful sets and fantastic musicians and to do one song. And, I mean, some of them really are good. And then that's it. And then they put them on a little tour. But then basically that's it after that. It's unfair and cruel. And, and at the end, they end up with nothing again, just having that one bite of success. And I know what it feels like. It's, you just have to get on with it. I'm a great believer, if you're going to be a musician or you want to be a singer, you bust your chops in the clubs and you earn respect. And you don't tell record companies how good you are. You send in a tape like you did in the old days. They tell you if you're any good. Now people make their own records and say, "Hey, I'm brilliant."
Well, you gave up.
Yep.
For a while because you were a family man, you had responsibilities, mortgage to pay, and that's when you started your own business.
Yeah.
Well, first you went to work for somebody else, putting in windshields and stuff like
correct,
that.
Yeah.
But then you started your own business, which was getting to be very successful, and then the woman with the strange accent gets you to come to London to audition as the singer for AC/DC. But because you didn't want to waste your time, you combined the trip to London with another thing that you were doing, a commercial jingle or something that you were
correct.
singing.
My buddy, he did all the Monty Python stuff, all the music Monty Python, and he made his money on the side by doing advertisements, jingles. And he said, "Brian, would you come down? I can offer you £350. I thought, gosh, that's a lot of money, to sing an advert for Hoover. And I went,
the vacuum cleaner.
The vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
So, and that was at the same day that this girl wanted me to go down to sing with AC/DC. So I went down and I sang the new high-powered mover from Hoover. It's a beautiful mover. That was
right. And then you went and auditioned for AC/DC.
And then across the road. And I went across the road and I went into the AC/DC place and.
But you still didn't know it was them?
No, I knew by then because I'd said to the girl, when I said, "You must tell me who they are," and she said, "I cannot tell you."
Yeah, but he finally refused to go unless he knew.
I said, "Unless it says, I will give you the initials." I went, okay.
Well, that kind of gave it away.
AC on DC. And I said, so it's AC/DC. And she went, I have said too much. Yet, I'm not making this up. I later found out her nickname was Olga from the Volga. And she worked for Peter Mensch, the manager there. And so it was.
Well, they offered you the job pretty much almost instantly.
That night, yeah.
Yeah, that night they offered you the job. But you had to borrow somebody's car to go to London.
I did.
For the audition, because you didn't think it would make the trip.
Well, mine wouldn't. There was no chance, so I had to borrow a friend of mine who, I think it was a customer's car that he was doing the underspray for it. He says, bring it back by Monday.
Or else.
But I mean, this to me is this information I gleaned from the book, which I read yesterday, and I've got to tell you, it so humanized you.
Well, thanks.
I mean, you're a very, very successful big name rock star, but I was reading a book written by like a normal guy who's really excited by all these things that have happened to him, good and bad, recounting the stories, and as a matter of fact, you even at one point there's a sentence in this book where you say something like "normal people like us." Or regular people like us.
Well,
regular people like us.
I lead a different lifestyle from most people. That's just the nature of the beast. But I never did quite get into that celebrity thing. I just don't like it. I feel uncomfortable.
A woman sent me this email prior to having any information that you were coming up. So this is coincidental. But I think that you'll find this woman to be a very impressive lady.
Oh,
okay. Right. It's an email from a Cheryl Studhoff. And she writes, "Hey, Jim, May 24th is my husband's birthday. Please wish him a very happy one and let him know that his ZR1 Corvette is in the driveway."
Whoa.
Oh, that is cool.
So, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, mate. And what a wife.
Yeah,
What a
really.
lady.
Now, Rockers and Rollers, a Full-Throttle Memoir. That's a good title. The subtitle is also, Right on the Money. This is a memoir about life, about love, about rock and roll, but mostly about cars.
Mostly about cars, yes.
It's mostly about cars. And there are pictures here. I said this is a passion since Brian was a little boy. There are pictures that he drew when he was a little kid. Designing cars.
I shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah, and
it's great that you kept them.
And he's loved cars and his late father,
me old pops, yeah,
knowing how much he loved cars, did something so special for him when he went to kind of like a junkyard and bought something special for you when you were a little boy.
He bought me a steering wheel because he knew I was just nuts, and he bought me a steering wheel and he stuck a pole in it and stuck it in me bed head. He fixed it to me bed head and he piled the pillars up. He'd say, "Right, go on. Off you go." He talked like that. He was an ex-sergeant major, and he always spoke like that. And I sat on there, and I just drove.
Aww.
I mean, there was no, as far as I was concerned, I didn't see any wallpaper. I just saw the open road, and I'd be the bus driver. And I knew the route exactly from Newcastle to the village where I lived. And they had to drag me down for me dinner or me tea. "Come on, get out of there." "Hang on, Dad, I'm not there yet." My little brain was real weird, I thought I was in it. So it was a great thing. But basically, this book, it was basically about cars for one reason. I've got a dreadful memory. And when people used to say to me, "Brian, you remember that girl you went out with, and we went to that party, and we all got very drunk." And I go, "No, I can't remember." "Oh, come on, you must have. She was called Pauline." "No." And then you got drunk, you got arrested by the police, and "No, I don't remember that." And you remember they took you away in the helicopter, and you fell out of the helicopter into the lion's cage, into the zoo, and the lions mauled you. I cannot remember that. You had a Mini. Oh, that day. Yes, I remember it.
Well,
it was always the car that made me remember what the hell happened.
You loved the Mini because the Mini was, it was a romantic experience for you. And the Mini, for us, it was the most British of cars.
It was the Beatles of cars.
Yes, and the Mini's still very popular today.
Yes, it is. Yes, and it's a wonderful transition they made from the old one. But as I say in the book, if I saw the old one again, your heart, you just have to buy it. It had the little starter on the floor. you know, a little rubber button on the floor that started. It was simple. It was cool. You know, you could actually go to cool parties without hiding, you know, like beforehand. The old car had to hide it around the back. So
which was the car you had where you dropped off your date and you had to drive it home in reverse?
That was a Ford
In
Popular.
reverse.
Yeah, he couldn't
Nine and a half.
Forward?
he couldn't get it in
Nine and a
drive.
half miles I drove backwards.
How far was that?
9.5 miles.
Wow.
From Shield Field to Dunstan. Through the city. I drove it through a city across 2 bridges.
It's
amazing.
it's 8:18 here at Q104.3. In reading this book, I've got to tell you, it brought new meaning to the song that I'm going to play for you right now.
Oh.
If you listen carefully to the lyrics, understanding his love for these cars,
Yes.
you'll know exactly what I mean.
Yes, I remember when I wrote them and I took them first to Malcolm and Angus and the producer, Mutt Langer, and I said, I think I've got the first verse. See how it sings. And he went, it's about a motor car. I went, well, not really. You could take it. He said, oh.
You shook me all night long. There's even a section of this book called Car Porn, which is just photos
Yeah.
of automobiles.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cars that look really nice but don't actually run very well.
That's correct, me son.
And you
Yeah, the
really,
worst.
you point that out.
Yes.
I mean, you don't really have a lot of respect for, say, the E-Type, except for its function as a penis extension, as you
That's
put
all
it.
it is. I mean, if you want to use it in a practical sense, forget it. And as I said, that story is so true. My brother-in-law, Harold, he was a doctor in the mountains of Norway. And I live in Florida. And, of course, the thing just was always heating up. I went through 3 or 4 radiators. You know, the electrics never... spent a fortune on it. He took it. I said, you can have it. After all the years of pestering me, and off he took to Norway, up in these cold mountains, and went to visit. He said, Brian, would you like to drive the E-Type down to the village? I said, well, yes, I'd love to. I missed that car. And we got in and we drove down in the mountains and the sound coming at the exhaust. I went, oh, this is where it was born to be.
Right.
And we got into the village, stopped, and it just went, shh.
Ooh. Oh.
He said, I think it's too hot today.
In Norway.
And it was freezing. So, you know, they are a stunning looking vehicle, but cobbled together too quickly for my likes.
It's what we call the XKE here in the United
XKE,
States, right?
Well, if we wanted a car that would last forever, what would you suggest? Well, you know,
the
The Rolls-Royce Phantom, if you had the money.
That would last forever. But I usually, you know, the old the Volvos, you know, the old Volvos, they were great old rally cars, and they always used to, you know, the now Subarus, I would strongly recommend anybody that wants a family car that just wants to go forever. And this isn't a paid advertisement. I'm just telling you.
No,
the
I'm really
truth.
curious.
They're unburstable. That's why the farmers in the northeast of England and in Scotland have used them now instead of Land Rovers. Mm-hmm. Because they're just unburstable. They're absolutely amazing vehicles.
Oh, you love the Rover.
The Rover's a great car. The Land Rover. Yeah.
You love that. You really love that
got
one.
That got me out of hell, that thing did. And I really mean hell. A storm so vicious. Katrina. And I was down in a little... down in a little vale, and it was an evacuation order, and the guy said, just leave your vehicles, and I said, not likely. And we climbed up this road. The road was falling away from under us, and it has a magic yellow button you hit, and you just take your feet off the pedals, and this thing crawls and it fights its way to the top. And I had a trailer behind us, and we got to safety.
Wow.
Yeah, otherwise the whole thing would have been flooded out.
Yeah, it was
I'm
flooded out.
impressed.
Yeah.
Everybody lost their trailers because they couldn't get up the hill.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you had been on a camping trip.
That's right. I went to see Cliff when he cut his foot, nearly cut all the tendons in his fingers.
Yeah.
So went up to see him.
in North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah.
See, I read the book.
Yeah, you did me, sir. Thank you very much.
In one sitting.
It's Rockers and Rollers, and today you can meet Brian Johnson at Barnes & Noble on 5th Avenue and 47th Street. That's at 12:30. Tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. in Huntington, he'll be at Book Review, and Thursday at 7 p.m. at Bookends in Ridgewood. You even mention an Isetta in this book, and I saw a mint condition Isetta at the auto show here in New York that just looked absolutely awesome. I remember being a little boy and seeing pictures of it in the newspaper, but I didn't ever see one in person.
Well,
what a car!
Isetta was the bubble car was designed by Piero Rivolta's father. Piero Rivolta, his father was called Renzo, lives in my street. And he saw it because I bought it at auction, and I made the thing mint. And he came and he saw it. He went, "It's my car." I said, "Well, no, it's not." He said, I said, "It's mine." He said, "I give everything for this car, Brian. It's my. I designed this with my father when I was a young man. I cannot find one." So I said, "Well, I tell you what, we'll put it into the museum, and we'll say it's yours." And he went, "Grazie, I must now drive it." And he drove it, and now it's in the museum in Sarasota. But that's such a lovely little motor car, you know. But the whole front of the car is the door.
Yeah, I know. The front of the car is the door.
The door.
You open
There's only one door, and you open
Yeah.
the front of the car, and the steering wheel, and everything lifts out, and you just walk out.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Now, I know we're running out of time here, and we haven't spent much time on.
I'm too busy blethering me, son.
No, it's just that it's so interesting, all the things that you've done, and you managed to have a very successful racing career, you and your team, without just being some spoiled celebrity who got on the racing circuit. Instead, you were somebody who was dead serious, won the respect of your peers, and when you had that first big win at Sebring. You did not expect that to happen.
Absolutely not.
You would have been happy to finish the race. To finish the race, you would have been happy.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, it was a race. It's a 3-hour race, and things get confused because people coming into the pits and changing, and I went out and I always knew I was a quick driver, but I could never understand when professional drivers used to say to me, "Brian, you got to get in the zone. If you get in the zone, everything happens without you even thinking." And it happened to us. It was like an epiphany. I was driving and I wasn't thinking, I wasn't doing anything, but my times just got quicker and quicker and quicker. And of course, when we're finished, I thought I was maybe in the top 10.
Which you would have been happy with.
I would have been more than happy with. But when the guys pointed it to winner's circle, my little heart.
But you didn't know how to get there.
Yeah, I went back to my thing. And then the tanner is going, "Would Mr. Brian Johnson please come back to the winner's circle? You won." And I went, "Oh, bugger," because there was nobody there.
That's not exactly what he said.
And I zoomed on back there, and they put me on there, and there I was with a champagne, and just ecstatic,
And the huge cup.
But then the guy who wanted to interview us, and I was so excited. I think I said the F word 9 times.
It was 11 times.
11
times.
It was. See how good you've been
Yes, your
this
victory
morning?
interview, the F word was 11 times.
I was so excited. What a feeling.
Rockers and Rollers, a Full-Throttle Memoir by Brian Johnson. It's really, really entertaining. It's very, very interesting. It's published by It, which is an imprint of HarperCollins. And just very quickly again, today, 12:30, Barnes & Noble, 5th and 47th. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., Book Review in Huntington. Thursday, 7 p.m., Bookends in Ridgewood, one of our favorite places. Brian Johnson, thank you so much for coming and spending time with us.
Do you know, this is a proper radio station. Really.
Yeah.
I love this little studios.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Anytime.
You're welcome anytime. Let's get on board the rock and roll train. AC/DC, Q104.3.